Hello everyone. Happy Father's Day. Hope you've had a good week. Um, Over the last few weeks, we've been thinking about our thinking by looking at resources from the book Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen. And we need to remember that the greatest spiritual battle of our generation is being fought here between our ears, because how we think shapes our lives, and every great or horrible act we see in history and in our own lives as well starts somewhere with a thought. And one thought can multiply into a series, developing how we think, often without realizing it. So I wanted to just talk about our thoughts, thinking about our thinking. I don't know about you, but maybe it's time to keep training ourselves to fight, because we are what we think. We don't need to believe that change is hopeless, or that we're a victim of circumstances, or this is just who we are. No, perhaps, in this particular time, it's time to think about capturing our thoughts. It takes effort, but it's not about what happens to us. It's about choosing to believe that God is with us, for us, and more than anything, loves us, even when everything seems to come against us at times. Look, I don't overcomplicate the problem. In Romans 8:5-6, it lays it out clearly. It's this: those who live as their human nature tells them to have their minds controlled by what human nature wants. Those who live as the Spirit tells them to have their minds controlled by what the Spirit wants. To be controlled by human nature results in death. To be controlled by the Spirit results in life and peace. Don't know about you, but I want a life of peace. I want to be in that place where I'm calm and peaceful. The problem is our minds, they flick from the flesh side of things to the spirit side of things. But this is an ongoing work of the spiritual life. It's day by day, moment by moment, helping us to move from the chaos around us to peace. And there are hurdles to climb sometimes, but more often we're influenced by the products of our own wounds or hurts, or the things that we do or don't do, than the real spiritual battles out there. But that's not to say they're not there. But don't give in just yet, because one of the things that's spoken to me is that the same resurrection power that's in Jesus is in us, and that's the journey we need to take. So what am I saying? I'm thinking through things. If we can interrupt a thought, we can sort of enter neutral ground, and we get a choice. Are we going to stay with that thought? Are we going to choose life and peace in the mind of Christ? If we can learn the signs that we're being sucked into a thought trap when we get them, and who our enemies are when it comes to thoughts, maybe there are a few strategies that can help us succeed in the mission. And remember also, throughout the Bible, there are many promises from God which tell us that he's always with us, and to be courageous. I like that. I like that. Joshua 1:9 says this: have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. So I hope this is speaking to you. I sometimes, have to fight my thoughts and say, no, I'm not going to choose to think that. I'm going to look at it another way. I'm going to look at it in another light. It all comes down to what I would call what you are attending. In this world, everything goes fast and furious, and sometimes we just need to be alone with God. In stillness and quiet, we can reconnect with God, and we can clearly identify what's wrong. And then naming stuff is the first step in interrupting them. But it's really crazy difficult to do at times. I just ask the question to myself, I'll ask it to you. When was the last time you or I sat or knelt in silence and quiet, just listening to God? We always have this habit of having a need to fill the quiet with something. And most of us are easily distracted by business to fill the gaps. We avoid silence. We put music on in the car. We stuff our schedules tight. We juggle stuff. And we find ourselves like Adam and Eve, naked and afraid in life, so we choose to hide, often in the noise. But if we can get quiet and listen, we might be afraid of being put to work. We might be afraid that God will remind us to reach out to someone we promised to, or fulfill a commitment we've made, or we might feel that we need to change, or you might in the quiet times just feel like you're really alone. So quiet time isn't so quiet, is it? But we do know, I know, that whenever we draw near or come near to God, he is always waiting for us to come back. Remember this verse from James 4, verse 8, come near to God and he will come near to you. If we can get still with God and turn off the distractions, then some things can happen. Like this, inappropriate thoughts can be combated with positive ones if we choose to think them. Our imagination can get rewired when we're quiet. We can get into that relaxed state. And it's up to us in one sense. Do we choose the negative thoughts or the positive ones? It's really difficult to think of both at the same time, thinking negative, thinking positive. And it's been said that the most valuable asset we possess is our attention. So it prompts the question in myself, what am I attending, particularly in this time? Am I attending to fear, or am I attending to what God promises? Am I attending to doubt, or the truth that never changes? Am I attending to my need to control, or can I let God plan for me, even though there might be chaos around me? Am I attending with comparing myself with others, or am I thankful for just what God has done? Am I attending to all my worries, or am I attending to the living God? So I wanted to just highlight a couple of things. You know, daily walks for me is often about restructuring my thinking. In Galatians 5, Paul talks about this. He describes the effect of retreating from God and drawing near to God. And in verses 22 to 25, he describes the fruit of walking close to God. You know it. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there's no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. So I think what I'm saying is, to walk close with God, we need time in his presence. And this, for me, can be done in those quiet, silent times. And maybe to do that, we need to work on our thoughts. You know, when we're stressed, some of the thoughts come through our minds, and there's a sort of pattern that we can have. It's things like, I'm overwhelmed because I've just got too much to do, or I'm upset because I've been ignored again, or I'm anxious because I'm running behind, or I'm angry because he or she was rude. Notice how each of these thoughts has a little bit of a pattern. There's a sort of negative emotion at the front end, followed by because, and then there's a reason. I feel like this because, and then there's a reason. And I've just been wondering, you know, can you rewrite things like that in our minds and take back a little bit control, even fight back? So this lady in her book recommends, if you've got a negative emotion, give the reason why, but then put a choice at the end. And you might think, oh, come on, this is stupid. Just saying things another way. I don't think so. No. It helps reframe situations in our mind. Just before writing this, I had a really good conversation with Betty on the phone. You might know Betty. She fell over and broke a hip and had an operation. She's recovering from that operation. And she's walking around a couple of weeks later now without a frame and without crutches. It's not easy, but she's doing it. And what struck me when we had that conversation is that she keeps telling herself she can do it. She tells herself that God will lead her through. And it was uplifting to hear her on the end of the phone being really positive. She's reframing the way she's thinking. It could have been, I'm really frustrated, I broke my hip and now I can't move, and she just sits there quietly. But instead, she's saying this: I broke my hip, I couldn't walk for a while, but I will get up and outside and walk every day to build my strength. Always telling myself that I can do it. So this is a thinking shift. I'll give you an example. You're saying, I'm upset and was passed over in my job, but I'm choosing to remember that God hasn't forgotten me. I'm angry that he or she was rude, but I'm going to focus on God's kindness towards me. I'm overwhelmed and have too much to do, but I'm going to stop and pause and thank God that he empowers me to accomplish only the things that I need to do. It's only a small shift, but it's amazing how our thinking can gradually change over time. So I just want to promote being still. I want to promote thinking about things in a different way, where we've got that choice at the end. Getting close to God quietly on a regular basis. It's just like a night's sleep. We have a night's sleep, don't we, to rest and recuperate, but we need spiritual recuperation just as much. It's also then like a weapon, giving us the power to push back the downward spiral of wrong thoughts, which sometimes grabs us. I don't know about you, they grab me. So why is it difficult to be still? Why is it challenging to be still? I think we're the most distracted generation in history. We're surrounded by so much information, ever-present stimulus, constant messaging. The overload is just amazing. And we tend to focus on the negative ones as well. If we get sent 10 messages and 9 of them are positive and 1 of them is negative, we'll focus on the negative one. But God says in the Bible, this is about being still and knowing God. Psalm 46. It's time to take a break from all the business. It's time to breathe in. It's time to refocus. It's time to be with God. The original Hebrew about the words be still could be better translated to cause yourself to let go, or even the word surrender. And being still, when we can do it, genuinely helps us to reconnect with ourselves and remember who we are. That may sound strange, but we can get really preoccupied with just doing things for well-intentioned reasons, but we forget who we are and what we're truly meant to be doing with our time and talents. Being still as well gives our brains a chance to catch up and reorganize things. Have you ever had that inspirational flash of creativity and you then embark on something new? I think most of the time that's when we're still and quiet and reflective, when we're in a relaxed state. And that relaxed state is probably difficult to find at times. Being still helps us to pray. There are many ways to pray, but hearing God in stillness is sometimes counterintuitive as to how we might expect an all-powerful God to communicate. But he does. Remember, Elijah hears from God in the cave. And every one of us has a tendency to ruminate. It means to focus on the cause or the consequences of a problem or feeling, but being still can help us recenter. It helps us gain perspective. It restores the soul. I know this aspect of our thought life can touch our mental health as well. So if what you're experiencing is hindering you in your everyday quality of life, speaking to a trained professional will help you work through any deeper cause of anxiety if you just can't shake these thoughts off. So what am I saying? I believe an essential part of restoring our spirit, soul and body and gaining greater calm over our emotional life is by praying and focusing on God. and just being still with him, thinking about our thinking and changing it to a positive mindset rather than a negative one, choosing to believe the things that God says about us. This might not seem much to people. You might think it's fairly obvious, but I think one of the things in this situation is that it's made me reflect on the still times, the times when thoughts run through my head, the times when I need spiritual recuperation and building. And I'm choosing, amidst the chaos, amidst things that don't quite go to plan, to take time to be with God. I just refocus my thoughts. I love where it says in Psalm 23, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still quiet waters. He restores my soul. My prayer for you is that in those times of quiet over the next week or two, you have that opportunity to be still. And I just pray that the Lord will restore your soul. So can you find time this week to be still with God? It might be the best thing that you do. Bless you guys. Looking forward to when we get together, when we meet together. I think that will be a really great time, and it's not far in the future, I hope. But Ken was saying to me the other day, he said that one thing he's looking forward to is giving people a hug as they come through the door. Have a really great day. If you've got Father's Day presents to deal with, enjoy them. Love your time together with your families. Thanks.